Sure that voters in this state by election day understand they have a clear choice between someone who has stood up for them and fought for them and someone who has put profits before people.
Dick, about that phrase, are you referring just to her pay, or are you trying to refer to what her primary opponent finally started bringing up? Are you talking about wrestlers dying? Are you talking about drugs? What does that phrase mean?
We're going to be talking about her business, the way she has run her business, and how she's treated people who have worked for her. And the people of Connecticut are entitled to a contrast in those records. My record of fighting against some of the most powerful special interests, which I will do in Washington, and her record about how she's run her business and how she's treated people and how they can expect her to treat people if she's in Washington.
Do you think that connects with voters? I mean, many voters don't seem to care that she has quite a bit of money or the WWE. How do you try to resonate with voters that that's a big issue for them, or that they should care more about that?
Well, Susan, you know, this choice has huge stakes for people. And they will care by Election Day what kind of person they are choosing to represent them in the United States Senate. Someone who stands up for them and fights for them, or someone who has put profits, her own profits, before people. I think that contrast will be very clear and profoundly important to them come Election Day.
She has gotten a great deal of mileage out of simplifying her position, which is appealing to all these angry voters. People say they're angry. In about 10 seconds, she says, I've always been a proponent of smaller government, less debt, less spending, reduced taxes, getting people back to work, and I have the experience of putting people back to work. Like 10 or 12 seconds. Says it all the time. What does Dick Blumenthal stand for in 10 or 12 seconds that will rebut that simple message that's obviously she's getting a lot of mileage out of?
What I've stood for is that I will fight for people, put them first, stand up for their interests, and never back down from a fight. And people can count on me to be in their corner, to side with them, and to stand up for them no matter how powerful or wealthy the special interests, and no matter who is in power.
Has she been lying about you in her campaign advertising, and what lies has she told, if you view?
Well, to give you one example, to claim that I support a national energy tax is just plain false. It's based on phony numbers from a right-wing think tank designed to scare people and protect the special energy interests that I have fought. I have an energy plan that involves making polluters pay, lower utility costs, rewarding Connecticut for being a clean fuel-burning state, and creating green energy jobs. That's an energy plan that will make a difference in people's lives, and it exemplifies the clear choice between someone who will stand up to those energy interests and who is unafraid to say we should end the special breaks for big energy interests.
Do you have any other examples of her lying or distorting her position?
Well, that's a beginning. We are going to talk about the others as well.
On making polluters pay, is that a reference to some form of cap and trade system? And do
No.
you still think, do you no longer believe that some form of federal cap and trade system should be?
Cap and trade is dead. It died in the last Congress.
Right.
Making polluters pay is what we do when we take legal action, as a coalition of states have done, against Midwestern coal-burning plants that give us all of their pollution and none of their power, because the acid rain and smog coming from sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, are blown by the prevailing winds to Connecticut. We should make those polluters pay and stop their pollution.
On global warming, are you no longer a supporter of some form of federal system like what Reggie has done in the Northeast? Do you not support an attempt to pass that?
The federal government should recognize that CO2 is a clear cause of climate disruption. The remedies will depend on what the Environmental Protection Administration or Congress devises as the most effective means to create incentives and remedies against those problems.
How important are the upcoming debates to this campaign, and are you ready for them?
I think the debates will serve to inform people about the differences between us, not only our records in the past, but also our clear views on some of these issues. I am in favor of improving the health care reform bill, not repealing. I am in favor of ending the special tax breaks for big energy companies, the breaks for agribusiness and subsidies for people, some of whom don't even grow crops, the sweetheart deal with pharmaceutical drug companies that costs us $200 billion a year, as well as I mentioned earlier, the tax breaks or loopholes for companies that ship jobs overseas. I think the debates will help voters draw distinctions between us, based not only on our records, but our stands on the issues, and we will be fully prepared to draw those distinctions.
Are you going to aggressively engage her on Monday, Dick?
You know, you'll really have to come to the debate. I know you will.
Dick, the poll showed.
But I think, you know, the debate, it will be an opportunity to draw distinctions and for each of us to engage the other. I think it's a very clear and important opportunity.
Dick, do you think, though, you can be heard given the level of voter anger right now? In that poll today, people said, we think Blumenthal as Attorney General has done a fine job. You know, your approval rating is almost 70%. In a normal election year, you'd be on cruise control right now with an approval rating like that. But it also showed, with several questions, that the veins of voter anger go very, very deep. So as somebody who's been on the scene for 20 years, how do you appeal to that angry voter, that voter who's saying, I've had it with Washington, I want something completely new?
Well, let's talk facts. I share the anger that a lot of voters feel about Washington failing to listen and respond. The question is not who's angry, but who can turn that anger into action that really helps people. Who will fight for people who are angry and frustrated, as I am, with Washington failing to listen and respond. And what we will do is draw the distinction between my record of fighting for people and standing up for them and a person who has no such record and whose only real record is of putting profits ahead of people.